Hey everyone, welcome back to a tutorial from the Broke Coder. In this tutorial we'll be making a web scraper using Python. Now what a web scraper is that it's a program that goes to the internet, searches a web file. It may be a website or it may be some sort of data that's on a website, catches that website's file, all of the data there, brings it back to you. That's all a web scraper does. It just goes online, gets a bunch of data, gets back to you. Now, today what web scraper will be creating is one that goes to this website called GitHub Trending, and it gets back the data for you. And what GitHub basically is it's just a place where I guess you can say that developers go to show off. Now everyone just puts up their repositories. You know what repositories are is just what the projects they are working on or whatever code they've made, programs they've written, they put it out there for people to see, for the world to see, so that everyone else can use what code they've put up and people to comment on it. It's basically a social networking website without all of the social network thing that other websites have. Enough about GitHub. We'll probably make a video on that later. Now, to start with our web scraper, what we'll be doing is I've just created an empty folder here that is just nothing right now, and what you'll need to do is first of all just click here, type cmd, so that a command prompt opens up within the directory, and then as I told you before, I like using Sublime Text Editor, and that's what we'll be using it here. I've already used it to set up a file in here. I'll be creating a new file and I'll be saving it in my web scraper folder with the name web scraper.py. Now, before we begin, what we need to do is import some libraries. Now, what libraries are is basically it's pre-written code in Python that is available for you to use. It's just code that's written by someone else, and it's basically available for you to use for free. And you'll need to install two libraries. That's what they are called, libraries. And to do that, all you have to do is type pip install requests. And now I already have this installed, so it'll just show requirement satisfied for me. But for you, it might take some time to download it, so go ahead and do that. And there's another library that needs to be installed. It's called Beautiful Soup 4. Now, what requests library is for is it handles all of your HTTP requests, whatever your program will be using to connect to the internet websites. And what Beautiful Soup is, it's a program that translates that HTML data that it's called parsing. It's kind of like a hype term for if you don't know what it actually stands for, but you don't need to know any of that to do web scraping, but I'm just putting it out there. Now, once you've done that, once you've installed both those libraries, let's just go in and get started with the program. So now, first what you'll need to do is you'll need to import requests, and you'll also need to import Beautiful Soups, of course, to do things that you just downloaded. And for Beautiful Soups, what you'll need to write is from bs4 import Beautiful Soup 4. And for the time being, let's just keep it at this. Now, what you need to do is you need to define a variable called URL. That will be the URL that is of this website. Just go here, copy it. I'm bad at clicking things. Paste it here, but not directly. It needs to be a string. So let's just hope it's just put it in single quotes or double quotes. It depends on you. Doesn't really matter here. And just define another variable called response. Requests.get from URL, and just print response. I'll show you what is actually happening. Now, once you go back to your command prompt, just go Python and or just hit tab and the command prompt will complete for you. Now I'm running the Python program from the command prompt. You can, if you're using a ideally, such as if you're using the Python ideally, the one that comes pre-installed with Python, the ideally one, it comes in a white screen by default. You can keep it whatever you want. Or if you're using PyCharm, it's awesome, you can work from there as well. It has its own editor, PyCharm, and ideally you can just create a new file and type your code in here, save it and run it. Works, everything's fine. Or you can follow what I'm doing, and just when you hit enter, what the program actually does in the background is it goes to the website that you've given, tries to get response from that website, and then it brings it back. Now if everything's running perfect, if everything's going good, if your program managed to reach the website, then you will see a request 200 printed out here. Okay, hold on, why is it saying cannot import beautiful soup for hold on a second, I don't think we're supposed to write that. Yeah, let me check. No, we're not supposed to write beautiful soup for sorry, my bad. Let's just run it again, and you should be seeing a response 200. Now what this means is the website responded back successfully and you're good to go. So we'll just get rid of this print response, we don't need it anymore. And now we'll create another variable called soup, and we'll use this to create a beautiful soup object. Now what this does is it takes our response. What our response was the actual response that we got from the URL from this website, github.trending, in a text form, and we'll parse it using html.parser. Now make sure that html.parser comes in single quotes. On some systems, as I have come to know, it doesn't work when you put it in double quotes, so feel free to experiment, but single quotes is better for now. So if you do that, and if you now try to print out, I'll just save it and run this again, you should be getting something interesting now. Hold on, I just made the command prompt. Okay, we just got tons of data, we don't know what this is. If you know HTML, if you slightly know HTML, you should be able to look out and find some meaningful things here, because when you print soup, it just splashes everything from the website and just puts everything in here in a semi-incomprehensible manner. It's basically jargon at this point, you can't make out a lot of here, but the thing is we are able to access the data from the website. That's what counts now. So what we'll be doing now is, again, first of all, getting rid of the print. We don't need it anymore. We know that our website works, our program works, and it goes to the website. Now what we need to do is our program needs to come here, look at this page, see the repositories. Now the format in which this is mentioned is, in the light blue is the name of the person, and in the dark blue is the repository that they created. That means Aristocratos is a person here who created the repository, and Bashtop is their repository name. Microsoft is the name of the account that created this repository, and reverse proxy is their repository. Now what you need to do is right click anywhere and go to inspect. Now this is really helpful because Chrome gives this to you by default. If you're using Firefox, be sure to check out how Firefox allows for inspecting element on the Google, but yeah, I'm not going to show that now. You guys should be using Chrome. Chrome is awesome. Now what you need to do is you need to press this little button here that shows select an element in the page to inspect it, and if you'll be moving around, you'll be seeing, as you move around, whatever your mouse is on, that is being highlighted here on the right side. The arrow basically shows what code was used to generate this. Now if you use it to see all of this, it'll be showing you div class. This is the div that we need to focus on. Just expand this okay, no, this div. Just expand it, and when you have your cursor on this div over here, you'll be seeing that the entirety of the page that requires the content that we need is highlighted, but we don't need all of it. You need to see only the most important part of it. Like if you go here, this is the most important part, and the name of the class here is box. So that's what we'll be taking. That's what we'll be using here. Now let's go back to our file, and we'll just do a quick little, I'll just show you what needs to be done. Just create another variable called repo, short for repository, and we'll say soup. We'll be using the object that we created using beautiful soup here. Soup dot find all. Now what this does is it takes two arguments. First of all, no, this is a dictionary. Now what it does is, in the first argument you need to tell it what type of tag it is searching for. Now in HTML terms, you'll know what a tag is, and here, as you can see, the box tag is a div. It's the div tag, so you'll need to provide div here, and in here within these curly braces you need to write within singular double quotes. I don't think it matters here, but just try out class, and then you need to say box. No, again we'll just try out what prints. Why? Because here this div had a class called box, and that's what we are trying to extract. We're trying to tell our program, search for this, find out what data it has, and bring it back to us. Now if we run that, let's see what we get now. Hold on, it'll just come, and we again get a bunch of jargon. I mean, it is the data that we want, but it has been returned. If you see at the end, you'll see this bracket. What is this bracket doing here? That bracket shows that whatever is returned by this function here, by this line of code, is returned as a list. Why am I highlighting the fact that it's returned as a list? It's a Python thing. Python coders will know that if something's in a list, it's always easy to manipulate it. But back to our main thing. Now we don't need the entire box at a time. What we need is each of these rows. Like we need this row, we need to know the name, we need to know the repository name, and we need to know this repository name, we need to know this uploader of the repository. That's what we need. We don't need the entire data at once. It will be too hard and too time consuming to just go through the entire thing. Now if you go down through the divs, what you'll be seeing is this div here highlights the data that we need. It highlights the data that consists of people and the repositories. Now if we click open this, what we'll be seeing is it's article class box row, article class box row, article class box row. Each box row here represents a certain section, a single section that we need, and that's what we'll be using. We'll be using box row. If you open this up, what you'll be seeing is here we have an h1 class, and inside that we have an anchor tag. Basically we have a link. If we press this, we go on to someplace else, and that's the thing that we'll be using. We'll be using the anchor tag. Why? Because from the anchor tag we'll be able to extract all the information. As you can see here, we have Aristocratos, we have bash top, we can get all the information. Now if we come back to our code, and let's just rename this to repo list, because that's what we'll be doing here. And remember, this was article tag, so that's what we'll be putting up here, article, and in class we'll be putting up box row. With that done, if you now try to print repo list, I mean it will still be jargon, but let's just say it will be a bit still incomprehensible jargon, but you'll see. Now once we run this in a minute now, okay, this is taking a bit too much, yeah, and as you can still see, we still get that bracket here, which means we are still getting a list from the output, but okay, yeah, it's workable data. I mean, you now have only the data that you need, which means less jargon and more actually needed data. So first of all, let's decide what all data we need from there. Now what I'll be doing is I'll be taking in the name of the person who uploaded it, the repository name, the number of people who have starred it, in other words, they liked it, they use it on a daily basis, and the link to the website actually. And if you right click a repository and if you open it, this is the form a repository link is: github.com/name of the author or the uploader and the repository name, and this is the page that it opens up for you to use. So let's see how we can actually implement this in our code. So first we'll need to create lists to store our data. We'll create a list for names, a list for repos, a list for links. Pretty sure I don't have a list. Never mind. Star list for holding how many stars each repository has. And what we'll be doing with all of this data is we'll be storing it in a CSV file. So for that we just need to go up here and import CSV, and then let's give our file a fancy name such as GitHub trending, and that should be enough. GitHub trending CSV. Okay, now that's done. Let's create an object to work with our file. F equals csv dot writer. Yeah, I can't even spell properly. CSV writer open. We'll be providing a file name, and we'll be providing the W argument, which says that it needs to be open in write mode, and new line equals nothing for now, because we don't want a new line to be entered every time. It's a CSV file. It'll handle off that. Now what we need to do is our first row needs to be the headings. That means whatever we are writing, we need it to be understandable by ourselves later on, otherwise it will all be for naught. So write row will be the first row we'll be writing. That would be developer, signifying the developer's name, and then we'll write repository, and then number of stars, and then the link. Now once that's done, what we'll do is in this repo list we have all of the data that we need. So what we'll be doing is for rep in repo list, we'll be taking the first name from each of them, say ASO rep dot find of A, and then we'll be taking the href, then we'll take the star. Like this is basically just finding us the first information. This gives us the name and the repo name. I mean, it gives the name of the developer and the repo name, and then star would be rep.find svg, because if we go back here you can see that stars are stored under a tag called svg, so that's where we'll be extracting them from, in this svg file. So once that's done, and then what we'll need to do is we'll be using that same variable name, and we'll be splitting it based on %2f, and I'll show you why in just a sec. And we'll not be needing the first one. Why is because the first variable here, ASO, it returns a list that contains three things: The first one is irrelevant. It returns the name and the repo name, and they are all separated by separator that GitHub uses and a lot of web pages uses to represent spaces. That's the %2f. I don't think it's visible here, but if you print it out in the Python file, it should be visible. I don't think it's mentioned anywhere here, but yeah, if you try to print out ASO right now, you should be able to see, but you can do that for experimental purposes on your own. I won't be showing that here. And then you have, and now I'll be creating the link here using https :/github.com/ and I'll be joining ASO0 plus, I'll be adding another slash and then ASO1. Once that's done, and then stars equal rep.find class. Now again, in rep we need to find the exact number of stars for each of them. So what we'll be doing is octagon and octagon star. Now this gives you the actual number of stars in each of the repositories. What this does is this finds out the stars that are there for each of them. I mean for the entire box, for all of these guys. And what this does is it finds that same stars individually, and then you go .parent .text, you go to the, you find that tag, go to its parent tag, get that in text format, and then you strip it. Next you get names.append, and in the names list that we created up here, you can finally add the name that is stored in ASO0, and repos.append ASO1, and then links.append link, the link that we created above, and star list.append stars. And finally we need to write it in our CSV file that we created, fwrite row ASO of 0 ASO of 1 stars and link, and that's our program done. Just save the program and then go here and hit run. Hold on, just let me just clear this up and hold on. Yeah, Python web script. I ran the pip install beautiful soup by mistake again. So once you run this, it seems like nothing has happened, but you'll see that a file here has gotten created, GitHub trending CSV. Now if you double click on it, you'll see this weird thing. Now usually what you can do is you can use pandas. It's another Python library to read this data in a much more readable format. Or what you can do is go back, and if you open it up, and if you open up CSV, now what it'll do is it'll open the CSV file by default, by using the Microsoft Excel, and in that way you'll be able to view the data that you have collected in a much more legible and easier to see manner. Did I click this? Pretty sure I did. Well, yeah, it's taking some time to open up, but yeah, you get the point. Whatever data that we gather is being stored here, and if you see the developer name here, that's the name of the first developer, Aristocratos. What we saw, his repository name is Bashop. The number of stars that he has is 1088, and if you use this link, if you copy it, and if you actually put it up here, Let me just open it up in another one. This is too much. If you paste it and hit and run, it will take you to the same repository that we just saw. Yeah, there it is. And we get that repository back. Oh, well, Excel open for once. Yeah, read only, because he's thinking that I don't have access to that because it was created by an automated program of ours. So let me just put this down and open this up, and you'll be able to see it. Just make sure these are bigger. No. Just make this bigger, and that way it's easily visible. You have the developer here, you have the number of stars, you have their links. Everything's done easy peasy. And that's how you use web scrapers to gather data from online websites. Now the only difficult part here is actually going to a website, inspecting their element, and trying to figure out what is the right form of classes that you need to provide or tags that you need to provide that allow you to extract that data from the website and then use it on your own. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you have any doubts, leave them in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe, and let me know what I can make for future videos.